Hi everybody, it's Cherie with Cherie by Sea, and in today's video, I'm going to give you 10 ways to stay safe as a solo cruiser. Specifically to my female solo cruisers or travelers, because these are just great travel tips in general, and they do apply to everybody, but female solo travel is my specialty, so I'm really giving extra attention and love to my female solo travelers out there, but this video is for everybody. Some of these things may seem like common sense, but even me who's been traveling for a long time, I've made some mistakes, even as recent as my last cruise. So this video is gonna serve as a gentle reminder to don't forget yourself when you are traveling solo especially. Number one is never leave your drink unattended or accept drinks from strangers. And this is good for men and women. When I was younger, I worked in the bar scene in Memphis, and I have seen all kinds of things. Don't put it past the ladies to rob you, fellas. But especially women, we really need to be vigilant about this. And like I said, knowing better, this is like the number one rule when you're out as a woman, right? You don't leave your drink unattended. You don't take drinks from strangers. And I did this. I was caught up in the moment at the pajama party night on the first night of my Virgin cruise. So I hadn't built rapport with people that much. You know, I had made some friends, but I didn't know these people. And while I was standing with a group talking and hanging out, these two ladies came by and they had 2 drinks each, and they were trying to give away like a pina colada and some other kind of daiquiri. And they were just saying, who wants this drink? The bartender made extra, whatever. And I had had a few drinks already. And I was caught up in the moment, and I was like, a free pina colada. And I took that pina colada. I guess I thought because it was a woman handing it to me that I wasn't in any real danger. And I took a sip, or maybe 2 sips, like very small sips from the drink. And it was so sweet, and it was late, and I didn't want it. I just set it down and I didn't touch it again. But then later that night in my cabin, I kind of had an anxiety attack because I was like, that could have went very poorly. Anybody that was paying attention to the big, massive solo groups that night knew that everybody there was there alone. And I had already attended several solo events that day, so it would have been really easy for anyone to figure out that I was on that ship alone and give me a drink, you know, and bad things could have happened. So don't be a dummy. No matter how sweet or innocent the person looks, if you don't know them and you're traveling solo, do not take a drink from a stranger. Unless you're sitting at the bar and someone offers to buy you a drink and you watch the bartender make it and you take it directly from the bartender. And I just don't take my eyes off of my drink. I'm holding it in my hand, or even you can set your hand on top of your glass if you're turned away. You know, set your little cocktail napkin that they give you to set your drink on, set it on top of your glass and put your hand there while you're talking and chit-chatting to your neighbor. It's better to be safe than sorry. Number 2, and this applies to ports. Always do your research before going into a port if you're solo. Now, I cannot tell you how many times people have come to me with this look of awe and surprise when they find out that I'm walking alone in ports and taking, you know, taxis or Ubers or whatever and going to a local beach or going to a local site alone. They just couldn't fathom doing that. So I want to tell you this so that you won't be afraid to go out and explore. It's perfectly fine to explore as a solo traveler, but you need to just be smart about it. I always do a bit of research about a port. You know, I like to have a few surprises, but I do research. I read message boards and I watch YouTube videos about particular ports that I don't know a lot about. And I want to see, is it safe for me to be walking around alone there? Or do they offer taxis inside of the port? Because yes, I take taxis, but I'm going to take a taxi from the port. I'm not going to leave the port if I'm not familiar with an area and just grab a random ride. Okay, there's 99.99% of times inside the port, there are taxi stands and drivers that work for certain companies that are affiliated with the port inside of the port. So I always catch a ride if I'm going to be 100% alone. I catch that ride inside the port. I have also shared rides with other cruise passengers, usually like a family, because I feel safer with that. If they got kids, I feel like they're a little safer, and sometimes I can squeeze into a ride with other people. Or like on Virgin, when I actually made a group of solo friends, there were like 4 other women in that group of friends that I made, and we traveled together also, and I felt 100% safe. And I've walked around alone at many ports. Now, I'll even get off the beaten path, but you got to keep your wits about you. And I'm going to give you some more tips to feel even more safe if you do go out wandering and exploring. Number 3, we're going back to alcohol, folks. Give yourself a predetermined cutoff if you're traveling solo. Be like, at 3 drinks, I'm done. At 4 drinks, I'm done. There are some exceptions to this rule. Anyone who watched my Virgin series knows that I probably had more than 3 or 4 drinks several of those nights. However, I was with a group of women that I felt very comfortable and safe for, and we agreed to look out for each other. So I wasn't going to let anything happen to them, and they weren't going to let anything happen to me. We knew that we were responsible for one another, and we all did a good job in adhering to that. But if I were just by myself and did not connect with another group of people like that, then I would definitely be cutting myself off. I'm going on a cruise with my son Eli on Icon of the Seas tomorrow, and I didn't get the drink package. And yes, I'll probably have a drink or 2 at Sail Away, at a show, but I will not have more than 2 drinks at once. I just won't. Although I'm not going to be 100% solo, I'm going to be a solo mom on that cruise. And I want to keep my wits about me at all times. So I do suggest that you do that. And I know it's easy to get caught up if you're making friends and hanging out and you're out late at the club. But if you're a solo woman, it's just like I said before, but it bears repeating. It's better to be safe than sorry. Now, if you've met a group like I did and you feel very comfortable and safe and you have a talk with them and say, hey, let's keep an eye on each other. Let's have an agreement that if I have too much to drink, you're not going to let me go off with Joe Blow, and I'm not going to let you do that either. You can even have them, the sober one, walk you to your room. I've had that done too. I made friends with another group, and I had a married couple walk me to my cabin after I had had too much to drink. But I stayed with that group of people while I was drinking and made arrangements for her and her husband to safely escort me to my room so I wouldn't commit any random crazy acts, So just be a responsible drinker. Give yourself a cutoff. All right, what number are we on? Number 4. I always pretend like I don't need my glasses, but we're not kidding anybody. I'm almost 50. I need these things. Number 4, share your location with a trusted friend or family member or both. Every time I travel, somebody knows where I am. Multiple people know where I am. I share my itinerary with my daughter every single time I go anywhere. Full itinerary. I give her my flight information. I give her the hotel I'm staying at pre and post cruise if I'm staying longer. Full itinerary of my cruise and the ports that I'll be going to, the times, everything, what I plan to do, so that someone knows where I am. That's just a smart thing to do. We use Life 360. There's also Find My iPhone. If you have family members that have the iPhone, you can share your location with that. Always make sure that somebody knows where you are. That's just a really good idea. And let's go back to taking rides. Another step that you can do to make yourself feel better. I know that Uber has like built-in safety features where you check the tag number, and if you feel unsafe, you can like press a button while you're in the back of the car. But you can also take a picture of the tag and send it to your friend or family member who's kind of tracking your whereabouts. Or take a picture of the driver. When you use your cell phone to take a picture, it has the time on it, and you can just say, hey, I'm about to jump into this taxi. Here's the tag. Here's the driver. I should be in my location at this time, and it's just, and say it in front of the driver. That gives you an extra feeling of safety, and, it's just another level of protection for us solo ladies out there. Always let someone know where you are at all times, and check in, check in periodically to say, hey, I'm okay, everything went great. And that person should expect you to check in. For instance, with my daughter, we just have a daily check-in. So she knows if I don't check in, then she needs to start maybe worrying or reach out to me to make sure I just didn't forget. Okay, number 5, back to your cell phone. You need to always have a means of communication. Always. Carry a battery pack. I use this one because it's really light and easy, and I think it charges my phone up to 2 full charges with this one, with a fully charged battery pack. I'm not really sure. I'm going to leave a link for it. I just ordered this. So the last trip I went on, I didn't even use it on my last cruise, but I went with my son to Utah, and we were going to be hiking a lot, and I had this battery pack then, and it worked great because I took a lot of video and a lot of pictures, and we hiked all day a couple of times. So I did have to use this, and it worked great, and it's very light. But you need to have a fully charged phone and a battery pack, and you also need to make sure that if you're traveling solo, you need to make sure you get an international plan or day pass for when you're in ports in another country. I have AT&T, so I get an international day pass. I just have that plan added on, and they only charge me for it if I use it. And I think it's like $9.99 a day for you to use it. So it's like unlimited calls and text for that amount, and it is 100% worth it to me. So if I don't need to call anyone or use it, I don't get charged for it. But it's there if I need it. I have service on my phone always. Plus, it's helpful for using Google Maps, right? You can also download Google Maps ahead of time to your phone so that if you were in an area that didn't have any service, at least you would have Google Maps already loaded onto your phone and you wouldn't get lost. That's another good tip. I've had to use that many a times. Now we are on number 6. Now, and number 6 is you need to have some form of protection if you're a solo female traveler. And I know you can't fly with like a weapon or even mace or anything like that. You can't bring a pocket knife stuffed down in your bra, but there are some workarounds for that. I have this little thing that I got a long time ago, and it goes on my keychain. It looks like a little kitty cat, but it has spikes on the end. Now, they're going to let you through security with this cute little kitty cat on your keychain, but you could really do some damage with this spike. You could get a head start and run. So wear your tennis shoes in port. That's another. Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I've never had anything bad happen to me. But I know from talking to other women that they have a lot of fear, that they say, I could never. And having these safety precautions in place just gives you more confidence that, yes, you can go out there and do whatever you want to do in port. It's just like walking around in your own city. I don't live in a huge city, but I take safety precautions when I'm out here in my own town walking around alone, especially after dark. Even if I'm coming out of the grocery store at night after dark, it makes me feel better to have this on my keychain. And I also have, my car alarm, which brings me to the second thing, which I'm going to get. I do not have one of these, but when I was trying to find something equivalent to this to leave a link for you guys in the description, I found this thing called She's Birdie Alarm. And it's like a little personal alarm that you can hang. It's really small and you can hang it on your keychain. And I am ordering one of those today for my big trip that I have to Vietnam. And I'll be taking that trip solo. I have a special cruise edition that's going to come from Vietnam. But I can't tell you any more than that. You'll just have to subscribe to see what surprises are in store. But anyways, having a personal alarm, having something that you can somebody in the throat with. I don't know. Does YouTube let you say that? Gives you another level of security when you're walking alone out there in, a country that you're not familiar with. Okay, what number are we on? Number 7. Keep money in more than one place. The main reason I'm sharing this video right now is because I was looking for ways to keep myself safer when I take this 2-week-long trip to Vietnam. And, I was just trying to find things that wouldn't take up a lot of space, weren't a lot of hassle, but that would just give me, a little bit more confidence walking around somewhere that's going to be a bit of a culture shock, I'm sure. So right now, what I've been using, and I've been using this for years, is this little pouch. I know it's kind of bright, right? But it's super, super thin. And I don't even know where I got this, but they do have hidden money pouches on Amazon, and I'll leave links for a couple of different ones that I found. They even have ones that are RFID protected, so no one can come by with one of those little scanners and steal your credit card information. I have an RFID wallet that I carry around with me, and they make RFID hidden money pouches also. And this is so thin that you can put it under your clothes and it just lays flat up against your body. But I was looking for something that, because if you're wearing a lot of sundresses, like I and you can't see, but I have on a dress right now, I'm not going to reach up my dress, to get my hidden money pouch. So they make them, guys, that clip to your bra. Like they clip around the center part of your bra, and it's just like a little hanging, little small pouch, big enough to put like your credit card, an ID, and a little cash in. And I thought that was genius. I'm definitely going to get one of those for myself, and I'll leave a link for whichever one I decide to get, because it needs to be thin, something that's not going to, walking around in 100-degree heat in the Caribbean is not going to be uncomfortable, but just so that your money is split up, okay? Yes, I carry a little bag in port, but I never have all my cards and money in one place. Never. I leave a card or two in the safe on the cruise ship, and then I carry a couple with me, usually just one credit card and one debit card, so that I have access to cash if I run out, and I always have a little bit of cash. So you can split that up. Have a little in your purse and a little in your booby wallet or in your hidden wallet if you're not wearing a dress. And I'll combine with this to take a picture of your passport if you leave your passport on the ship. And I always leave my passport on the ship because I'm more terrified that I'll lose my passport than I'll get left by the ship. I always make sure that I'm back in plenty of time. I've only had one incident where I came really close to missing the ship, but usually, unless it's extreme circumstances, I'm not afraid of that happening because I will make sure I get back to the ship on time. But you never know what could happen. If you're not on a shore excursion, if you take a private excursion, or if you're exploring on your own and something happens, you get the time wrong in your head. I know that that's happened to people. Sometimes there's some confusion about ship time and port time, or you just forgot what time you were actually supposed to be back to the ship. I didn't know if this would make a difference. I'd heard people say, well, take a picture of your passport. It'll make things easier just in case you get left. So I asked ChatGPT, and this is what ChatGPT says. Yes, having a picture of your passport can be very helpful if you're left behind by a cruise ship, especially in a foreign port. While it doesn't replace your physical passport, it can help prove your identity to local authorities or the nearest embassy consulate. It can speed up the process of getting emergency travel document issued and be useful when working with the cruise line, airline, or immigration services to rejoin the ship or return home. So yes, it does help to have a picture of your passport. So make sure you just open it, get a picture of that full top and bottom where your picture and the barcode is when you're walking around in port, and bottom where your picture and the barcode is when you're walking around in port, if you choose to leave your passport on the ship in the safe like I do. Okay, let's move on to number 8. This is one where I am definitely talking to myself here. Do not overshare. Do not be an oversharer. Don't be telling people what your cabin number is, what your birthday and home address is, and where you work and all that stuff. Don't give out all your personal information. Seriously, you don't want to tell people your cabin number on the ship. You don't know these people. You do not want to tell them what your plans are when you get off the ship in port. Yeah, I'm just going to be walking around by myself all day. They don't need to know that. They don't need to know what hotel you're staying in after the cruise and what you plan on doing after the cruise, what time your flight is. They don't need to know all of your personal information. So do not be an oversharer. Remember, you're alone, and don't be naive. Not everybody has the best intentions like you do. I am guilty sometimes of thinking that everybody else is just like me, and they ain't. So keep that in mind. Don't overshare your personal information. Keep some stuff close to your chest, okay? All right, number 9. It's just something that I've been thinking about because everybody knows to lock their cabin door. Duh. But lock your balcony door also, because I have been on cruise ships. Not all of them are like this, but some of them are, especially if there's like a connecting room. Sometimes you could access your neighbor's balcony because it's just these little screens that might have a clip or whatnot, or some of them are just straight up movable, and someone could potentially access your balcony. They could climb over and around onto your balcony. I think about these things when I'm by myself on a cruise ship. So make sure that your balcony cabin is locked. Your cruise ship cabin locks automatically, I believe, when you just shut the door. But just like in a hotel room, there's usually like an extra layer of protection that I always utilize. And I may or may not be setting up booby traps around on the floor in case anybody comes in. I do that at home. I have booby traps set in my house, and I have things hidden to where I can protect myself in places that you wouldn't think to look. So don't come trying to mess with me at home or in my cabin. So yes, just keep everything locked. Okay? Double check that balcony door, because that's something that we may not automatically think about when we're on a cruise ship. And last but certainly not least is number 10. Trust your instincts. Listen, women especially, we don't want to be rude. And I struggle with this. I have been in situations where a person was making me very uncomfortable, but they were sweet enough. They were just creepy and they wouldn't go away. And I didn't want to be mean. So I just continued to let them hang around so that I wouldn't be mean. Don't do that. Don't be like me. I don't always do that, but I have done it in the past. And every time I always kind of beat myself up a little because I'm like, you know better than that. If someone makes you feel uncomfortable for any reason, you have permission to excuse yourself from their presence. It doesn't matter that they didn't really do anything. If you get the ick, you honor the ick. Okay? Just plaster that slogan in your mind, ladies. Cherie's giving you permission. Honor the ick. If you feel it, trust it. Trust your instincts, trust your gut. And that's if you're walking around in a port or another city. That is if you were on the cruise ship and hanging out in a shared space and making conversation with somebody. If that person starts to make you feel uncomfortable, leave. You don't owe them anything, but you do owe yourself to trust your own gut. Okay, we got to get better at that as women especially. So that's it. Those are my top 10 tips for staying safe as a female or male solo cruiser. And I hope that you've gotten some value out of this. I hope that it's helped you to think of your safety in different ways that you might not have considered before. And also, everything that I mentioned in this video, I will find a link for on Amazon. I'll put the specific links to the things that I have ordered or that I'm ordering today for my upcoming trip. In the meantime, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And until next time, as always, happy cruising. Thank you.